This is RFD Today, a daily look at the key topics impacting rural Illinois. If you live in Illinois, we examine the issues impacting you, your income, and your community. Here's your host for today's program, DeLaw Schonke.
Hey, good Tuesday to you, Illinois. Thanks for joining us for this adventure in broadcasting on the 9th of April. Sneezes are in full effect after a day like yesterday and a day like today, and who knows what's floating around, getting plenty of outdoor work done when time allows it, and we'll see which kind of allergy medication pays off over the next few days, and hopefully we can get through this without sneezing. On the program today, Ellen Ferguson writes for Congressional Quarterly in Washington. She'll give us an update, and we'll spend the whole time talking trade, I'll bet, especially with USMCA because of all the different aspects of it, including tariffs that are still in place. Plus, you have at least part of D.C. that doesn't want to give the president any kind of victory, and this trade agreement could be viewed as such. So all of that's part of it. We may get into China as well. We'll also hear from the IAA Foundation. Registration is available now for the annual golf outing that will take place in June. Kevin Rund at Illinois Farm Bureau with a piece in Link. We'll talk about how important property taxes are to local municipalities and other forms of government. Link is local information, news, and know-how. We'll also hear from Dan Hicks, freeze notice meteorologist. We'll talk in particular about what's coming later in the week and how much of the state will get it. Sounds like the worst will be to the north and west of us. First, though, Rita has this with Pioneer.
With Pioneer field agronomist Pat Ray this week. Pat covers Bloomington, Champaign, along I-74, an important part of Illinois. Pat, how are your farmers doing, and where are they with their time frame to get out there?
I think many of us are feeling just a little bit behind with the wet spring we've had so far. We just haven't done a lot of field work. It started last fall with kind of a wet fall, brought some challenges on. There was not a lot of tillage done last fall, and certainly not much fall and hydrous put on. The numbers I'm hearing is about 15% of the fall and hydrous went out last fall of what is normal.
So it's going to be fast and furious, and I guess there are many questions, but one of those questions is, how much nitrogen is needed on corn for 2019?
So that's a moving target. Our soils contribute a lot of nitrogen to the corn crop each year. We mineralize nitrogen out of the soil through the organic matter. Weather is a real big variable that we deal with, especially precipitation. It seems like the last decade we've kind of experienced a weather whiplash where we go from one extreme to the next. And so I hope this year isn't shaping up that way with starting off really wet and then turning off to be really dry through the rest of the summer. But sometimes that can be the case. And so the nitrogen rate is really difficult to determine when you have that variable weather component. And so I like to talk to farmers about getting the right rate, the right form, the right timing, and the right placement to get all 4 R's there in place. That is really difficult to do before the season starts. And so I ask farmers, how many hybrids do you plant each year? Do you just put one hybrid on all your acres? Because I think in nitrogen management, we have to take a similar approach because every nitrogen form that we use out there has different risks and rewards. And so by mixing it up and using some different nitrogen forms, whether that's anhydrous or UAN or urea or a combination of different nitrogen sources, I think is a really strong approach to dealing with this weather whiplash that we've experienced this last decade.
We'll have more with Pat Ray, Pioneer field agronomist, later this week here on RFD Today.
All right, joining us over the phone, our regular guest we appreciate. She writes for Congressional Quarterly in D.C. She follows agriculture in Washington. Ellen Ferguson is on the line. Ellen, thanks for joining us again. How are you?
I'm fine, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Is it cherry blossom time in D.C. right now?
Well, there are still blossoms on the trees, although we're coming to the end of it. I went out on Sunday to walk around with a friend, and there were thousands of people still out taking pictures and watching the sunset. So, yeah, we still are in the midst of cherry blossom season.
I think I saw on Twitter, I saw somewhere a reminder that, yes, you can take a lot of great pictures in D.C., but you cannot do them with a drone or an unmanned aerial vehicle. That those are off limits in Washington, and that makes sense. But that would be That'd be an awfully tough thing to get caught just trying to take a picture of the cherry blossoms, and you'd probably see how much Secret Service you could find in a short period of time.
Well, if you could get a drone up in the crowd, that would be, I think, an amazing feat. Literally, on Sunday, it was wall-to-wall people, families out, young people out, tourists out. So you could just barely at some points kind of make progress walking forward. But it was a beautiful sunset. And coming in this morning, I saw that there's still some blossoms on the trees, despite the fact that a lot of kids climbed those trees. A lot of people shook those branches. And some of them took home little souvenir blossoms with them. So, you know, those trees go through a lot during the festival.
Gosh, that's federal property. Be careful there, I would think.
Yeah. Well, people love them so much, they start treating them like they're trees in their backyard.
Right. Well, thinking about issues in D.C. and thinking about how that relates to Illinois Ag, and trade certainly comes to mind, and USMCA, and this is something that has several different branches of its own, a bunch of things to consider to get this finally to the finish line.
Well, there are a number of several obstacles in a very tight time frame. I was at the North American Agricultural Journalist Conference yesterday, and we had the Canadian ambassador to Washington, David McNaughton, speak to us. And he underscored that, once again, Canada is saying that it's a good agreement. You know, they have lots of positive things to say about it, but they want the Section 232 tariffs that the president placed on them and Mexico lifted. Now, these tariffs are global, but for a while, Canada and Mexico were exempt from them. They're the tariffs on steel and aluminum. But then the president said, you know, Mexico and Canada are not really fully engaged in the renegotiation of NAFTA, and so I'm going to place the tariffs on them to give them a little incentive to come to a final deal. And Canada and Mexico are saying, well, we came to a final deal. We all signed on November 30th, and we want the tariffs lifted. So they've been talking to members of Congress, and there's bipartisan support for their position. And then other issues that have cropped up in the House, which is now controlled by Democrats, and it's not a surprise, or labor issues. They want to make sure that the labor provisions in the main document are enforceable, and that Mexico lives up to a requirement that it pass a labor reform package. So we're waiting for Mexico, the Mexican legislature to take it up and act on it. And Mexican officials say that they expect that to happen sometime this month. So it's tight. It's tight because the Canadians are saying, look, our parliament comes in April and will be leaving by June 15th to campaign for the fall election. And after that, it's all, campaigning, election all the time, and probably no vote at all on it during the year. So there are a lot of things, a lot of odds and ends that need to be tidied up and sewn up before they can get it to the Canadians. And there's some question about whether the Trump administration is going to be able to do that in such a short turnaround. And I think, as you and I discussed just before we got on, is that there are political tensions between the House Democrats and the Trump administration, and a feeling that there are some Democrats who are unlikely to vote for the agreement just because they do not want to give the president a victory. That all plays into this. It's very complex. Several people who are veterans of moving trade agreements through Congress say it's never an easy lift. And, this may have its own kind of complications, but it's always a difficult thing to do.
Wow. Well, it does seem difficult if you're going to talk about an agreement that, if you're going to talk about free trade and you have tariffs looming outside of the agreement, that does seem like the two things that don't go well together.
No, they don't. And the president's recent statements about imposing tariffs on cars brought in from Mexico probably have not helped. And there's some question about what the president would actually be able to do, because as part of the United States, Mexico, Canada agreement, there are side letters that were essentially self-executing when the three countries signed the agreement November 30th. By self-executing, I mean they took effect, and they provide quotas to Mexico and Canada should there be tariffs placed on cars. And, so basically it's X number of units are able to come in duty-free. If they get above a certain level, then you can impose the tariff supply. So there's some question about whether or not the president would be able to unilaterally do that, if it would stand up. But the bottom line on that is it's another antagonism of a party to an agreement that you need them to vote on and to approve in order for it to go into effect. So I guess we'll find out in a couple of months whether that had any effect on it, whether they've been able to tie up the loose ends, and whether they've been able to round up the vote.
All right, we'll continue that conversation. It's a good stopping point. We'll continue. We'll talk a little bit more about Mexico. We'll get into a little bit of China as well with Ellen Ferguson, who writes for Congressional Quarterly here on RFD Today.
Farm Week and Partners Magazine editor Chris Anderson connects rural routes for you. Chris shares her 4 decades of riding expertise by making sure each edition delivers the best information. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I was raised on a farm in Champaign County growing corn, soybeans, popcorn, pumpkins, and poultry. My top priority is to inform, educate, and even entertain Farm Bureau members.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Warmer weather means a longer honeydew list. Your county Farm Bureau can help you stay on top of your project list and save you money along the way. A Farm Bureau membership offer includes discounts on equipment and supplies from Grainger, plus free shipping on all standard Grainger products. Browse thousands of items from landscaping equipment to power tools. Anything you need to get the job done, Grainger has it. Not a Farm Bureau member? Call us at 309-557-2689 or visit Illinois Farm Bureau online and join today.
Farmers value clean water, and every day they're working to leave the land, air, and water in better shape for their families, neighbors, and future generations. In recent years, federal agencies have muddied the waters with overreaching rules and regulations that are more about controlling land than protecting water. The new Clean Water Rule announced by the Environmental Protection Agency and Army Corps provides clarity so farmers can comply with the law while protecting the environment, growing crops, and tending livestock. The new rule would end years of uncertainty over where federal jurisdiction begins and ends. Now is the time to make your voice heard. Text WATERS to 52886 and support the new Clean Water Rule proposed by the EPA and Army Corps. Don't wait. The 60-day comment period has begun, so text WATERS to 52886. Contact your local county farm bureau for more information on clean water and clear rules.
I was visiting my 75-year-old aunt the other day when her phone rang.
Hello? It's you again.
She seemed nervous.
Well, I don't think I need any more life insurance.
The caller was doing a great job keeping my aunt on the line.
Okay, so you need my credit card number?
My aunt went to get her purse, so I decided that I would ask a few questions. Well, as soon as I introduced myself, the caller hung up.
Ruff, the crime dog here. Recognizing the signs of fraud can be difficult for older people. Often they're very trusting and consider it impolite to hang up. The National Crime Prevention Council wants to educate seniors so that these scams can be reported to local law enforcement agencies.
Financial fraud can include identity theft, fake check and wire transfer scams, investment and credit card fraud, and online charitable solicitations. Unfortunately, only 1 in 5 of these crimes are reported. To learn more, go to ncpc.org/seniors. That's ncpc.org/seniors. A message from the National Crime Prevention Council and the U.S. Department of Justice.
Ellen Ferguson is joining us from D.C. She writes for Congressional Quarterly. You were talking about the Canadian timetable, and pretty soon Congress will be out for a couple of weeks, won't they? I mean, next thing you know, this will be the 1st of May, and then we'll really be saying, okay, well, if 1st of May and we have until June, that's not a whole lot of time to get things done.
No. Congress has a problem each year getting its appropriations bills done. So just looking at the timetable, Congress can do a lot and move quickly when it wants to, but I'm not so sure when they come back from recess if there is going to be enough time to give them that conviction to move. I don't know if when the administration plans to send implementing legislation for the agreement, because that's what Congress would be voting on. And then once the implementing legislation arrives, then there's a timetable that kicks in for consideration in each chamber, and it has to pass each chamber with a simple majority. So yeah, I see your point. You make a very good point. There's always a possibility that they could make it, but it seems very, 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 I'll use an euphemism here, tight. Very tight.
Well, a lot can happen in 2 weeks just from some other, like we mentioned that it's difficult to talk about free trade while you have tariffs. And given what the president has said before about the Mexican border, and has even made the statement that security is more important than trade, it seems to me those kind of things would loom into these kind of discussions as well, wouldn't they?
Somehow, yes. But right now, the president is apparently prepared to restructure the top leadership at the Department of Homeland Security, which has, the border agency and immigration. So maybe that might be enough to satisfy him on strengthening the U.S. posture and maybe working something out with Mexico. You also have to remember that in the last few days, the president has also praised Mexico for, he said, being more effective at detaining would-be asylum seekers in Mexico. But there was just a recent, I think yesterday, a court ruling that puts in doubt the president's plan to keep asylum seekers in Mexico, force them to stay in Mexico, rather than come to the United States and make their claim. So I don't know how all of that fits in. Our immigration and Homeland Security reporters, I'm sure, are trying to sort through this. That's not something I do, but it's very complex. And who knows, maybe there will be some resolution on this. You just never know how things will turn out.
Wow, that, it's one of the difficulties is, we talk about these things for a long time. We talk about China for a long time. We're at about a year since things really went down with China. And, you hear things like, oh, we're almost there. We're close to a deal. And then then the next day you see something that says, oh, we've got a lot of issues to get worked out there. So, what is your gauge on how close things might actually be?
I don't have any inside sources, and I don't have a crystal ball. I think it really sort of depends on what approach the administration finally wants to take. I've seen reports that maybe what the administration might do is sort of agreements on specific areas over certain time periods, starting off with agriculture and then moving to other areas, intellectual property. So that might be one way to go. But the sticking point still seems to be an enforcement mechanism. How do you do an effective way of policing and monitoring any agreements that you reach? How do you at least let the Chinese have some response if you're accusing them of not holding up their end of it? How would that work? And then what tool would you use to punish or deter China from backing away from whatever it's agreed on? And I'm sure China will also want some sort of say in saying, well, what if the United States doesn't live up to its part? What kind of recourse would we have? So these are very thorny issues. I think that on Capitol Hill, there's a lot of faith put in Robert Lighthizer, who is the U.S. Trade Representative. I think he's respected and liked by both Republicans and Democrats. So I think they're more than happy to just kind of stand by and let him see what he can work out, and then see what happens. Now, on the China talks, Congress actually does not have a formal role. There will be nothing that the administration has said, that there's nothing that they will be sending to Congress to approve. These will be treated as sort of a resolution of tariffs that the executive branch imposed on China rather than a kind of formal free trade agreement. So we'll, again, I'm ending everything by saying we'll see how it all shakes out, but that's really kind of how it all works.
I understand we'll see how it works, but boy, there's a lot of folks saying this, just fix it, just get it done. But that's not the way it works. Hey, if I run for president, will you be my press secretary?
Well, you let me know if you're going to declare.
Okay, yeah, we don't have to decide right now. We'll talk some other time. How about that?
A little bit of a window.
Ellen Ferguson writes for Congressional Quarterly. We talk about issues in D.C. The ones that come to mind are trade, and trade. But long process to work out. Stay tuned. Plenty to come here on RFD
more
Today.
Farm news and information ahead. Stay tuned for more RFD Today here on the Illinois Farm Bureau Radio Network.
Farm Week and FarmWeekNow.com journalist Daniel Grant connects rural routes for you. With more than 2 decades of reporting under his belt, Dan is the go-to source for farmers when it comes to commodities. Here's a bit about his rural roots.
I grew up on a grain and livestock farm near Roseville in Warren County. What I love about my job is working with people, traveling across Illinois, and visiting farms along the way.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Attention corn farmers. Your corn checkoff dollars are working with the U.S. Meat Export Federation to grow red meat export volumes. Because when we're exporting beef, we're also exporting corn. The beef industry consumes 28% of all corn fed to livestock, plus additional corn in the form of DDGs, a co-product of ethanol production. Now that's what we call working an angle. Your checkoff is working corn from all angles because at the Illinois Corn Marketing Board, your profitability is our bottom line. A message from the Illinois Corn Checkoff.
If you're in the mood for some sprucing up, you're in luck. From big to small or farm to front yard, your Illinois Farm Bureau member discount from John Deere is ready and waiting to help. It's easy to think green when it's the Rewards Loyalty Program with savings on equipment, special parts, and home and workshop products. Whether your tasks involve mowing, planting, or cleaning, you'll be set for whatever your work requires. All you need to do is sign up, have your membership number handy, and go to johndeere.com/farm Bureau.
As you prepare for planting season, remember your neighbors. Whether you're an applicator, grower, or beekeeper, use FieldWatch to register your farm and monitor for sensitive sites around you. FieldWatch is a free, easy-to-use online mapping tool. Consulting FieldWatch is now a requirement for the over-the-top use dicamba products. Communicating with your neighbors will help you protect your farm and the environment. Don't wait. Go online to fieldwatch.com. Growing agriculture, we grow best together.
All ag.
All Illinois.
All now.
There are a lot of smartphone apps out there, but do they have what's important to us here in Illinois? The Farm Week Now app does, and it's always at your fingertips. All ag, all Illinois, and 24/7 where and when you need it for free. Go to your app or Play Store on your smartphone, hit search, type in Farm Week Now, that's one word, and download it today. Brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau, where we're all about farm, family, and food. Does the warmer weather have you itching for a weekend getaway? Take your Illinois Farm Bureau membership savings with you.
Farm Bureau members can save up to 20% at choice hotels, including favorites like Comfort Suites, Sleep Inn, Quality Inn and Suites, with even more to choose from.
Call 800-258-2847 or visit the Choice Hotels website to search all the hotels at once and to make advance reservations.
Contact your local County Farm Bureau for your discount code number.
"40 years of horses, 40 years of legends. It's the Midwest Horse Fair.
Best horse fair in the nation right here.
This is
fun for families because there's so many different aspects of horses that they can see.
And there's top-of-the-line clothing and apparel and boots and hats and ropes and trinkets and gifts. The shopping is off the charts here. I hope you guys are ready because this is going to get wild.
It's the great Midwest Horse Fair.
April 12th through the 14th at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin. Visit MidwestHorseFair.com for more.
Welcome back to RFD today on a Tuesday. I'm DeLoss Yankee. Later in the program, we'll talk weather with freeze notice meteorologist Dan Hicks. Hopefully, weather-wise, it'll be a great day for the IA Foundation's annual golf outing, which, what do you know, is right around the corner. Brianne Bicycle is here from the IAA Foundation. How are you?
I'm good, DeLoss. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. So, what are the details? This is a summertime event, but it'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, we're actually in the planning now. So our 23rd annual Illinois Ag in the Classroom golf outing is June 13th in Pontiac. We split between two courses. We'll be at Elks Country Club and Wolf Creek Golf Club. Registration is online. You can find our website, www.iaafoundation.org.
So you can just one person. You don't have to build a team to do this, right? I mean, can you just do one?
You don't have to. You can sign up as a foursome or a golfer. We do have a few that just sign up individually, and we kind of throw them together as a foursome.
Gotcha. Well, that'd be a good way to spend the day with folks, all with a similar cause here, like you mentioned. So this is the Foundation's event, but it's specifically an Ag in the Classroom.
Yes.
event.
So we are raising money for Ag in the Classroom. So all of our proceeds will go to benefit Ag in the Classroom, and it all goes directly back to the county level through things like grants, teachers training, Ag Mags. Ag in the Classroom works really hard to provide standard-based, scientifically sound ag information to teachers that can just integrate this right into their classroom curriculum.
Yeah, it even could be the easiest of supplies, but someone has to purchase those supplies, and where does the budget come? Where does that help come from? And this is a perfect example of that.
Exactly. Yep. Through our events, so we do the golf outing, we do a 5K, and we do trivia night, all to raise money for Ag in the Classroom.
And normally this would be about 5K time, but it's not this year, is it?
It is not. So this year we have decided to move our 5K to the fall. So the 5K will be September 14th.
Okay.
Here on the IFB grounds.
Man, I was all set to run. I don't know if I'll be able to in September, but I was all set to run in April. But
see, I think you can do it.
Call me in a
September
few
too.
months. Yeah, we'll see. So $140 for golfer, $560 per foursome, and so great day at golf.
Yes.
And there's more to it. Well, shoot, you could come away with some fabulous prizes if you hit the right golf shots too.
Yeah, you can. We'll have the hole-in-one contest and double your money contest, chipping contest, all kinds of fun contests to make it for a great day. We kick off registration and the driving range opens at 9 a.m. And then we do a shotgun start at 10 and 10:30 a.m. And then the evening rounds off with a banquet sponsored by Country Financial. That's a steak dinner and our live auction.
Is there a silent auction as well?
Nope, just a live auction.
Just a live auction. And I've been told that can get pretty competitive, pretty rowdy, isn't it?
It really can. I think last year we had a pie go for over $1,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be some kind of pie.
Right? The best pies around.
Boy, I guess so. Well, that's fantastic. So that's a lot of great support for Ag in the Classroom. And, Ag in the Classroom, we're talking about 9 months out of the year. People are in there in September all the way to May and reaching kids. And we need more and more to teach people about agriculture and where their food comes from. So this is vitally good information.
Yeah.
It's also good for the teachers that way because someone can come in and have the classroom for 20 or 30 minutes.
Exactly, yeah. So we have coordinators in almost every county that tries to hit as many schools as they can, come in, take a half hour, teach the kids about agriculture, learning where their food, fuel, and fiber come from.
Okay. Is the website the only way to register?
Or they can call our office. It'd be 309-557-2230.
2230. Or just go online, iaafoundation.org. So 5K then is in September. This golf event, 23rd annual.
Yes.
June 13 up in Pontiac. So here we are in now almost mid-April. How has the whole scholarship process been going?
We are wrapping up scholarships. We hope to have announcements end of April, early May. So we're in the final stretch of finishing those up.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic that I believe this year was a record number of applicants.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it this morning. I think we had 388 applicants,
Wow.
something like that.
That's tremendous.
Yep.
Downside is someone has to go through 388 applications.
Yep.
So
lots of time to sort through them, and I think we only are awarding maybe 69. I think is the number.
Yeah.
So lots of sorting, and they're all great applicants. So it's hard.
Well, that brings up the fact then, if someone says, well, it'd be great if we had more to go around, but, the foundation, we're talking about a finite amount of funds to be distributed, but, I mean, there are many different ways someone can help with scholarships, whether that's on a local, county, or in this case, a statewide level.
Yeah, so our county's foundations also give scholarships, and then we have our program, and if anybody ever wants to get involved, they can give us a call, and we can get more scholarships set up.
Okay. Surely there are people that play this every year. But, for someone who hasn't done this before, it's a pretty fun day. It's just simple as come on out and support a great cause, isn't it?
Yeah, the golf outing, come on out, support a great cause, get involved in some of our contests. One thing I didn't hit on is we do have a $30 Fast Pass that you can get with your registration that gives you access to all on-course contests also.
Oh, very nice.
Along with your $140 for your golfer registration, an extra $30 gets you access to all contests.
You and me, Susan Moore, we need to find a fourth, and we'd make a pretty formidable team.
I think so. I think we could make a good foursome there.
That sounds good.
I've never golfed in my life.
Oh, that's okay. We'll have a good time anyway. Brianne Bicycle, IAA Foundation. Stay tuned. More to come on RFD today.
RFD Radio Network's DeLoss Yankee connects rural routes for you. DeLoss delivers essential farm and food-related news to our listeners. His witty voice has been heard on the air for more than 2 decades. Here's a bit about his rural roots.
Growing up on a farm prepared me for my career. I try to know a little about a lot of things and let the people I interview be the experts. I've always wanted to be on the radio. I'm just happy to do what I enjoy.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
It's where your home is built, your landscape is planted, and your children play. Land is all around us, so Illinois farmers have dedicated years to learning how to best care for it. Today, we're bridging modern knowledge with resources from Mother Nature to promote natural soil activity and choosing crops that enhance soil health. To learn more about conservation efforts, visit ilfarmersconserve.com. Preserving our water, protecting our land, providing our food.
This message brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau.
Check the markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLoss Yankee. Well, we've been lower so far this morning, led lower by wheat, although we have come off the lows there. We're down 4 to 6 on wheat. We're still down a couple for corn. May corn down 2, 3.58. July down 2, 3.66.5. December down 2, 3.87. Just a fraction off the morning's low. Soybeans started unchanged to a little bit higher, but they've drifted a penny lower now. May soybeans down 1 1/4, 8.97.5. July down 1 1/4, 9.10.5. November down 1 1/2, 9.30 3/4. Just a fraction off its early low. May wheat down 6, 4.59 1/4. July down 4 1/2, 4.64 1/4. May hogs down 2.87. 86.57. June cattle up 17. It's the RFD Radio Network.
Years of horses, 40 years of legends. It's the Midwest Horse Fair.
Best horse fair in the nation right here.
This is fun for families because there's so many different aspects of horses that they can see.
And there's top-of-the-line clothing and apparel and boots and hats and ropes and trinkets and gifts. The shopping is off the charts here. I hope you guys are ready because this is going to get wild.
It's the great Midwest Horse Fair.
April 12th through the 14th at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin. Visit MidwestHorseFair.com for more.
Welcome back. Joining us in studio, we're pleased to have Kevin Runn, Senior Director of Local Government at Illinois Farm Bureau. Kevin, how are you?
I'm fine, DeLoss.
We have a piece here. Always great information here, and this is from Link, Local Information News and Know-How, where all the money comes from. And it's just remarkable, first of all, just how many entities there are. You know, when you add all the townships and all the municipalities, and there's a whole lot more to add in there.
When we talk local government, we're talking nearly 7,000 units, depending on who's measuring. Some counts get as high as 8,000, but
does that include school districts?
Well, school districts are included in that count.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, 7,000 to 8,000. So libraries, parks, townships,
municipalities. Yes. We've got a bunch of them here in the state of Illinois. In fact, we lead the nation in the number of units of government by states.
Yeah. Rural fire? Does that or fire districts? I guess
fire districts, if they are a separate unit of government. Yes.
Wow. That's a whole lot. Now, I'll save that question for later. But where those municipalities then earn their revenue, then I assume comes from a variety of sources.
Right, and we turn to the Illinois Comptroller's, what they call the report card. It's a survey they conduct on an annual basis that asks the different units of local government to self-report their sources of revenue and, of course, their expenditures. And in last month's issue of Link, we put together an article here discussing that latest survey from the Comptroller's office. And we looked just at the revenue side there. In that survey, the Comptroller takes the schools out, sets them aside. So we're looking at almost all units of local government other than schools and other than those that collect property taxes. For instance, a drainage district doesn't collect a property tax. They collect an assessment. But that's not included as a part of this survey.
Property taxes, I assume, is the lion's share, but I assume that share as well.
Well, and it varies considerably based on what type of district. If you look at the major general purpose units of government, counties and municipalities, certainly they get a large share from property tax, but it only amounts to just under a third on average across the state of their revenue comes from the property tax. They've got a number of other sources, such as sales tax or specialty taxes at the local level, especially by home rule municipalities.
But still, we're talking about $10 billion.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. Well, almost 14 between municipalities and counties. 3.7 going to counties and 10.1 going to municipalities. Those are billions.
But one of the things, depending on where you are and depending on what property values or farmland values are doing, that could also have an impact of how much is able to be accumulated?
That's true. It would affect that ratio of what percentage of their total revenues come from the property tax. But one of the reasons property tax is so popular here in the state of Illinois, or so used in so many situations, is the fact that it's not highly volatile. It's pretty consistent year to year, and so local units rely on that and can be fairly confident of what the numbers are going to look like from one year to the next.
If you're the fire district or some of these points of government, where are you going to raise funds?
We've got one other unit of general purpose government, that's townships, but they rely very heavily on the property tax, as do all the special purpose taxing districts that are out there. And in the case of those units, they're over 86% of their revenues coming from property tax. So you're right, it's very sensitive as far as what property values are doing in that locale.
Wow. So basically, almost $7 out of $8 for the budget comes from property taxes.
Yes.
That's amazing. But, if you don't have anything to sell or, anything on which to levy a tax.
Right. Well, they don't collect the sales tax, correct, right? And they are very limited on the types of fees or other taxes they can charge. So, they can collect some fees in those special districts. But, again, the property tax makes up the lion's share.
Right. Yeah, a park district, for example, you can only raise so much money charging $5 a head, for example.
Yeah.
It's going to come from somewhere else. Do you know, so this was fiscal year 2017 information that you were using. Does it fluctuate very much? Is there anything alarming necessarily that comes out of it? Because certainly the bottom line is it takes a whole lot to make the engine go, but...
the numbers,
how much that needs to be.
The numbers don't fluctuate a whole lot. For instance, local sales tax revenue was reported by 21 different counties and 143 municipalities for that year, and that total came out to $760 million in that case. Now that's just that's fluctuated, less than 1%, 6.8 million from the previous year. So it's pretty consistent there.
Wow. So sales tax revenue, that would be an interesting one. And sometimes these areas are competing against each other. We have several twin cities, and we have several areas that are awfully close to each other. It might be surrounded by, or it might be divided by a river, or one county from the other.
True, and those situations, they do watch what they do with the sales tax, because it can disadvantage their own retailers within those municipalities if they get too far out of whack from their neighbors.
Yeah, because if you raise it too much, the neighbor's saying, sure, raise your tax all you want. The assumption is we'll just bring more business our way. So those are difficult decisions.
But again, the overall report does highlight the significance of the property tax here for our units of government in the state of Illinois, and the fact that we have so many different units that all vie for the same revenue source.
So that also brings to, because right now we're talking, for example, about proposals for graduated income tax, and how do we raise revenue for the state, and property taxes eventually comes up, and you have data here that says, look, we're carrying the lion's share already.
Yeah, thank goodness we have not seen the state approach the property tax. It's probably been mentioned in Springfield, but not seriously pursued. And that's the way we at Illinois Farm Bureau prefer it to remain. That property tax should be the purview of the local units, and not try to fund the state based on that revenue source.
You can find the full report. You can go through link to find this, but you can find it at illinoiscomptroller.gov. Tell me about Link, local information, news, and know-how. There's just tremendous information in here every time, every issue that is released. Where does one find the publication?
It's on the Illinois Farm Bureau website, of course, at www.ilfb.org, and there you can search for Link under publications. It's a bi-monthly publication, and it focuses almost exclusively on local government topics.
Some of the headlines include effects of an aging population, enhanced 911, and assessment adjustments. So that's Brenda's territory, that is her purview, isn't it?
There's never an end to the variety of angles you can look at property taxes with and the assessments that go along with it.
All right. Good stuff, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Thanks, fellas.
Kevin Rund, the Illinois Farm Bureau. Stay tuned. We'll talk weather next on RFD today. Let's check livestock markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLoss Yankee. Illinois direct hog market has held steady to firm the past couple of days, $46 to $56 a hundredweight. About a week ago and 2 weeks ago, we saw significant run-up in hog prices, and we have held steady the last couple of days. Sow market was $1 lower, $36 to $45 for lightweights, $42 to $49 for heavyweights. So steady on the bottom end, but $1 lower on the top end. Greenville over the weekend had a special feeder sale. 1,261 cattle went through the ring. Here's a pot load of heavy 5 weights from 170 to 191, averaging 183.68. Pot load of light 8 weights, 121 to 140, averaging 135.88. Pot load of light 5 weight heifers averaged 154.96. DeLoss Yankee, RFD Radio Network.
How do people benefit from raising livestock here in Illinois? Rich Giebert, Illinois farmer, president of the Illinois Farm Bureau.
Well, growing up on a livestock farm was always interesting, and I enjoy it more today than I did back then. But it did give me the opportunity to have a good work ethic, learn to get up in the morning. And that was difficult during my senior days at high school and college days. I had a tendency not to go to bed at a respectable hour. But no, it was always enjoyable on the farm and getting up before daybreak and milking the cows and getting the chores done and then go about the rest of the day's business.
Illinois Farm Bureau, along with beef, corn, milk, pork, and soybean associations, make up the Livestock Development Group, supporting the Illinois livestock sector. For more information, check out illinoislivestock.org.
Welcome back to RFD Today. We talk weather on Tuesday. Today we visit with freeze notice meteorologist Dan Hicks. You can hear him a couple of times during the day on the network as well as on RFD Illinois on weekday mornings. Dan, how are you?
Just fine, DeLoss. Good morning.
Hey, it seems, these last few days, Saturday and yesterday, even this morning, where people say, boy, I hope this kind of weather would never end. But it looks like it's about to end, doesn't it?
Well, it does. We can get a few nice spring days between these weather systems, but we've had wet conditions across the Midwest through the winter and early spring in many areas, and another fairly large storm developing midweek over the Central Plains. This certainly will be quite an intense spring storm with heavy snow, heavy rain, severe weather across the central part of the country coming up through the end of the week. A nice day across Illinois today, a little bit cooler than yesterday, but at least it's dry out there. Today temperatures will be in the upper 50s, 60s, and low 70s, but as you mentioned, more active spring weather coming up through the end of the week.
So a legitimate blizzard to take place, at least in parts of the Midwest.
No doubt about it. This storm is a little bit reminiscent of one that occurred back in the early part of March, where intense low-pressure tracked from Kansas northeastward toward Wisconsin, and we had rain and thunderstorms on the warm side, heavy snow and blizzard conditions on the northwest side, and certainly parts of northern Wisconsin, Minnesota, South Dakota, Nebraska, eastern Wyoming are going to be the areas that have the heaviest snowfall, and it wouldn't be out of the question to see as much as 20 to 25 inches of snowfall in parts of South Dakota. And with that intense low, probably 30 to 40 mile-per-hour winds with higher gusts. So certainly it's going to shut down travel across some of the far northwest parts of the Midwest and some of the northern half of the plains through the end of the week. Farther south and east in the warm air, we'll be dealing with some spring-like showers and thunderstorms across more of the Midwest from this system.
2 feet of snow in, 24 hours, 36 hours?
Probably not much more than 24 to 36. I mean, it may actually end up being some, some possibly record April snowfall. We've had storms in the past that produced very heavy April snow. We have, of course, a lot of warm, moist air more available in April than during the winter time. And when you collide that with the Canadian air, sometimes you do get these major early spring storms, which produce quite a bit of snow. But some areas may be pushing records for April snowfall totals by the time the week is out.
Now, as that moves east, will that go to Minnesota, Wisconsin? Will it dip at all into Illinois? What do you think about its pattern at the moment?
Well, I think that the majority of the precipitation in Illinois is going to fall as rain and thunderstorms. It's not out of the question. There could be a little bit of light snow in the wrap around, say, Friday night as the cool air starts to move back in from the northwest. But, any significant snow, probably no closer than parts of northern half of Wisconsin, Minnesota, maybe far northern Iowa. Farther south in the warmer air, showers and thunderstorms will be more common, and I think that Thursday would be a day where the potential for some severe weather could occur in Illinois as this intense low and cold front start to swing eastward once again. That might be the day where we have to kind of watch out for some strong thunderstorms in Illinois and surrounding areas. And then cooler air moving in behind it will drop temperatures below normal as we head into Friday and Saturday.
Depending on how low it gets then, is this a possibility of the final freeze of the year, do you think?
It might be. I mean, there's, certainly with this type of an active weather pattern continuing into the latter part of April, you can't rule out some freezing temperatures, especially in northern Illinois. But I think that, potentially about Saturday morning would be a morning where we could see some low 30s in the northern part of the state. Whether it happens after that, it's hard to say. It certainly becomes less and less likely once you move past that point. But if we continue to have these fairly strong storms passing through the Midwest, they will draw the warm air northward ahead of the storm and the cool air behind it. There's really no indication of a lengthy, cold period coming up, more of an up and down temperature pattern through the end of April.
Boy, just thinking about the images we've seen from Davenport recently. You bring more of this to the north and eventually bring it down our way. This seems like it's gonna last a while, isn't it?
Well, it will, and I think that if you look at that area, especially north of the Quad Cities, up through the upper Mississippi Basin, through northeast Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, that's going to be an area that's going to have quite a bit of rain and then some wet snow on top of it. So, there may be as much as 1 to 2 inches of moisture falling from this storm upstream from the Quad Cities. So certainly that's going to feed additional water down the Mississippi Valley. So even, farther south where rainfall amounts aren't going to be quite as heavy with this system, the Mississippi River is certainly running high, probably well into late April from this additional precipitation. And again, the active weather pattern into late April, keep rivers and streams across quite a bit of the Midwest probably running fairly high for the near term.
Wow. Fascinating stuff. We'll certainly be watching this the next couple of days and how that hits Nebraska, South Dakota, and other parts. That sounds terrible any time of year, and you think about spring calving and some folks eventually spring planting. That just sounds horrible. So we'll be watching. Dan, thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
You're welcome, DeLuss.
Dan Hicks, freeze notice meteorologist. That just sounds awful. 2 feet of snow, quite possibly, within a 24-hour stretch in some parts of the Midwest. Rita will be in tomorrow. I'll be over at Western Illinois University talking to students over there, so have the students' thoughts in your mind as well. Scott Wilkin, though, I interviewed him recently, the soon-to-be CEO of FBFM. You'll hear him tomorrow. I'm DeLoss Yankee saying watch your ends. Rita and I in studio tomorrow.
Information ahead. Stay tuned for more RFD Today here on the Illinois Farm Bureau Radio Network.